We'll begin with invocation. Shruti Smriti Puranana Alayam Karnalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parambaram. Let me begin with an explanation of Saprapancha and Nishprapancha. Then I will go to this problem of the two kinds of examples that we give in Advaita. The clay pot example and the rope snake example. Do we multiply examples? Something like that one. We have, when we are giving the entities or concepts, we do like that one. That is Brahman, the supreme reality. It alone is. And the Rigvedic mantra says, that one, that one. Tadekam, tadekam, that one. Even that expression, that, it is only for the purpose of recalling that one. That one we say. When in conversation sometimes we say, that one, don't you remember? So one will do. But still the Rigvedic text, as if to remind us, oh, that one. This demonstrative pronoun, it's a demonstrative pronoun, this and that. Why is it that the Vedic text should speak of that one? One alone will do. It is as if to remind us. Probably we know already. We must have forgotten. It tells us that one. Remove that is that reality one. That is Brahman. It alone is. Nothing else. It alone is. That is clarified by the Upanishadic text later on. One only without a second. Ekam, eva, advitiyam. One, ekam, eva. It's a definite particle. One only. Advitiyam, without a second. The one. What is the one we are talking about? That one. Don't you know? That one. It alone is. It is not related to anything because there is no second object. Only if there is a second object, the question of considering the relation between this and that will arise. That alone. There is nothing else. Okay? One only without a second. But we have to do philosophy. We are going to talk about philosophy. So what do? We are here in the world. We don't know anything about that one, let us say. We are here. Philosophy starts with this world, the human beings and other jivas in this world and various objects, inanimate objects. Somehow we have to relate this Brahman with the world. The moment we relate Brahman with this world, we are adopting a cosmic perspective. The world is here, the cosmos. We try to effect a link between Brahman, that one, which remains alone, not related to anything because there is no second. Now the question of relation arises. The relation between Brahman and the world, the cosmos. The moment we try to relate this Brahman, this non-relational Brahman, we are forcing, as it were, a relation on this non-relational Brahman by connecting it with the world, the cosmos. It is not to fulfill any want on the part of Brahman, no. There is no want. It is Purnam. It is from this Brahman, which is Purnam, this world is going to manifest. As if you are taking this world from Brahman. Even when you take it, Brahman remains still Purna. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnavadachade. So what remains is only that Purna. Even though you take it from that. It's a beautiful mantra. Now, I'm only trying to show that what is non-relational is now made relational. Because we want to connect this Brahman with the world so that we can tell a story. The story of the cosmos. In order to effect the relation, make it relational, we must say that this is the cause of the world. Not only the cause of the world, what kind of a cause? The cause of the world. What is this? To be the cause of the world. Then it must be endowed with attributes. He is omniscient, Brahman is omniscient, omnipotent, all merciful. Yes, so series of attributes, Visheshanas, are to be showered on this Brahman so that it can have, or we can successfully bring out a cosmic relation for this Brahman. It has nothing, therefore it is by itself, it is acosmic. By itself it is acosmic. We are using the word, since we are familiar with the cosmos, we are using the word. It is meaningful only because we are here in the world. There is such a thing called a Brahman, they say. This Brahman, which is non-relational, which is acosmic, is now made cosmic. The acosmic view is called Nishprapancha. Prapancha is world, cosmos. It is really Nishprapancha. It is without anything. That is the Upanishad text. Nega nana na iha na iha nana asti kinchana. Here in this Brahman, nana, plurality, diversity, kinchana, whatsoever. There is no plurality whatsoever in this Brahman. The cosmos is a plurality consisting of living and non-living beings. Is the world in Brahman? No. Upanishad flatly denies. There is nothing in it, nothing whatsoever in it, no diversity. So we are actually in a logical predicament because This is non-relational. There is nothing in it. And this Brahman has to be related to this world as what? As a cause of the world. And to be the cause of the world, to be the creator of the world, this Brahman must be endowed with various attributes, such as omniscience, omnipotence, and so on. Therefore, we have to make it Saguna. What is Nirguna has to be made Saguna, so that it can be related. The moment you make it Saguna by your logic, because we are working out the cause-effect relation, Brahman is going to be now the cause, connected with the world. Therefore, this Brahman now, to be related to the world, must be showered with the qualities. Therefore, it becomes Ishvara. That means it becomes Saguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman now becomes Saguna Brahman. So that our story will be very effective. So no more we are going to talk about Brahman, because we have changed the dress of Brahman. What is Nirguna is now by Saguna. How do you make it? Radhakrishnan gives a beautiful, I don't think anybody else can give such an expression to express the relation between Brahman and Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Brahman, cast in the mold of logic, is Ishvara. Brahman, cast in the mold of logic, is Ishvara. What a beautiful sentence. Everything is contained. Nobody, people say, ask sometimes, does Radhakrishnan know the correct philosophy, Sanskrit and all that? And the people who are not interested in studying carefully, they say, oh, Radhakrishnan flies in the air. He doesn't fly in the air. One should express one's inability to understand him. He is not flying in the air. He is here, well grounded. He has got his own way. Whereas if somebody writes only 300 pages of Indian philosophy, he writes in 2 volumes, volume 1 and volume 2 Indian philosophy. And when he comes to every system, when he comes to Vedanta, really, he is at his best. I say he is at his best, as if he is not at his best in other systems. My focus is always on Vedanta. I've been telling you I am so prejudiced and committed. So Radhakrishnan says, Brahman, how to connect it with it, how to make it Ishvara. Brahman cast in the logical mold. You know, the iron, the molten iron is put in the mold. You get a particular vigraha. If you have a mold of a vigraha, you have it. What is this logical mold? This is what I told you. It is the cause of the world. You try to bring in cause-effect relation. To bring in cause-effect relation, you have to make Brahman a Saguna. Endow it with attributes, various qualities, and then bring it with in relation to Brahman. Then your perspective is cosmic perspective. Brahman left to itself is a cosmic. There is nothing else with which it can come into relation. Asango hi ayam purushaha, asangaha. It's not sangaha, no relation with anything. Only if there is a second entity, there can be relation. There is no second entity. That's why it said in the beginning, that one. Katha solradhu namakku. Don't you know? That one. That demonstrative pronoun is not needed. Tadekam it says. Why the tad? To tell us, to remind us. Don't you know you have forgotten that one? What is that? Chandogya says, one only without a second. Don't think of a second. It alone is there. One, emphatic particle, only, eva, evagaram. So, there are two perspectives. Cosmic perspective, here, to have the cosmic perspective, you have made Saguna Brahman, Ishvara, otherwise called Saguna Brahman. Saguna because it must have attributes, various attributes. Then Ishvara, Brahman has disappeared for the time being. When you want to make it Ishvara, Saguna Brahman, already you have presupposed Maya, you have made effective use of Maya. Without Maya, Brahman, which is Nirguna, will not become Saguna. We don't have to say separately, yes, we have presupposed Maya. The moment I make it Saguna, already I invoked this Maya. Where did it come from? Maya has no genesis. We say it is Anadi. Try as you may to find a birth certificate for Maya. No, you cannot get it. It is a Maya, Anadi. Brahman is Anadi. Maya is Anadi. But Maya, once it comes in, it converts Brahman into Ishvara, so that Ishvara can have relation with the world. Then you have adopted what is known as a cosmic point of view, Saprapancha view. What is Nishprapancha? Free from the world. How do you know? That is the Upanishadic. Naika nana asti kinchana. The world is the world of plurality. The entire world is not there. But still, now we have brought out the world through the process of manifestation. So there are 2 points of view, therefore we say Nishprapancha view, a cosmic view, Saprapancha view, cosmic point of view. Okay? Now, Brahman, even in dream, one should be able to say this statement of Radhakrishna. Brahman, cast in the mold of logic, is Ishvara. Sometimes the question is asked, the Advaitin accepts, morning I said that he accepts Parinamavada, but his special theory of causality is Vivartavada. For Parinamavada, he accepts the standard example, clay undergoing modification and becoming a pot, clay-pot relation, Parinama. Vivarta, standard example, rope snake or shell silver. He accepts it. Then in Parinama, there is Samasattaka relation. Both the cause and the effect have got the same ontological. I didn't use that expression in the morning. Samasattaka relation. Samasattaka relation. Satta, reality. Same reality. Whatever ontological status is there for the cause, the same status is for the effect. Equal status, equal ontological status. Samasattaka relation. But in the case of Vivarta, the cause has got a higher ontological status, I said. The effect has got a lower ontological status. Rope is empirically real, whereas silver is pradibhasika, phenomenally real. Brahman world relation, Brahman is Paramarthika, a higher reality. The world has Vyavaharika, a lower reality. So, in the Vivarta between cause and effect, we have got Vishama Sattaka relation, not Samasattaka, Vishama. Vishama Sattaka relation. Now the question is asked, so you operate with not one principle. You say that your philosophy has got very few principles, very few categories. Now conveniently you accept Parinamavada wherever necessary. Then immediately you make a shift from Parinama to Vivarta. The answer to this kind of objection, because it is an objection which is made not with a deeper understanding of the system. An objection which is made just because we talk about Pranama, we say Pranama we also accept, but Vivarta we hold. We say that we have got only one principle. Whether it is the example of Vivarta or whether it is the example of Parinama, finally we have got both of, in both the cases we operate only with one principle. We respect the principle of economy. Principle of economy. The principle of economy. Just one principle will do for us. Now, just to consider the opening of the 6th chapter of the Chandogya. The chapter is called the chapter on Sadvidya. Sadvidya. 6th chapter, where there is a discussion between the Father and the Son and all that one. Now there is a statement which says, giving the example of Mrit. What's that passage? Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam mritiketyeva satyam. Mrit alone is satyam. Mrit, clay, earth. It is alone is satyam. And all that takes place from clay, pot, pan, saucer, cup, all of them are made of clay. Vikaras. Vikaras are effects. They are there only in your speech. Vak. The reality is only clay. Clay alone is real. Clay alone is real means Brahman is not real for you. The example. Because we always operate with examples. Then only people will be able to understand. That the Upanishad says, clay alone is real. And all the effects or modifications, vikaras, you call it clay, you call it pot now. Another modification, you say it is pan, saucer, cup. All of them are essentially clay. They are essentially clay. Clay is the reality. Clay is the truth. It alone exists, Upanishad says. Its effects, all right, they exist. They exist only in name. If I ask the question showing a pot, what will you say? Yeah, you can say it is made out of a pot, but it is essentially clay. Cup is essentially clay. The same thing with regard to any object made out of clay. Therefore, cause alone is real. Cause alone is real. What about the effects? They are all, they exist only in name, they are all kalpida. Kalpida. Cause is the adhisthana, clay is the adhisthana or the support for all the modifications. Support. What we say is the support, that is adhisthana, that is really the cause for everything made out of it. So, adhisthana that is the support. All objects coming from cause, from the cause, they are called kalpida. Kalpida. For that form we have given a name, that's all. Maybe what we call pot may be called by some other name in some other place, we don't know. We call it as pot. Is it necessary that you should have only that particular name? I don't know, I don't go into the question between the problem of the word and its meaning. No. In our Vyavahara, we call this object as clay, pot. You call this as a table, even if it is as a square type, you will call it as a table. Is it necessary that a table should have 4 legs? Even with 3 legs, we can have a table. So long as it can be stable, serving as an object to write on, to keep things on that, it's all right. Call it a table. Supposing it is a smaller size, you say stool. You can say even a table. There's nothing wrong. For transacting our business, so that we may not have any confusion, we have agreed, we will call this a table, that a chair, that is also a chair, this is also a chair, there is a conventional chair, that is also a chair, this is also a chair. Give any name you like. Objects which are called, which are effects, which are named in a particular way, that is your contribution for a particular rupa, a particular nama. Therefore, we speak of the nama rupa prapancha. What is this world? It's a nama rupa prapancha. You are familiar with that expression, nama rupa prapancha. That means all the objects in this world, they have got a certain form, rupa. In order to identify that form, rupa, you give a name. Kanchi Periyavar says that in a village there is Krishnan. There are in the 2 families there are 2 Krishnans. One Krishnan is called a Karupa Krishnan. Somebody is called. They both are called Krishnans. Now you add an adjective. Easily, either with reference to the height or with reference to the color. Only for the purpose of identification, so that we are clear when we call Krishnan means which Krishnan. So, we have got the vikaras. They are just only in name. Acharam vanam vikaro namadeyam mritiketyeva satyam. Now, every vikara is kalpida. Kalpida. It's used in a very technical sense now. I am using that, not in the ordinary sense. Kalpida. Kalpida is what is imaginary. Kalpidasya, for an object which is kalpida here? The pot is kalpida, the pan is kalpida, the saucer is kalpida, all of them are kalpida. Kalpidasya adhishtanameva swarupam. Kalpidasya, for an object which is kalpida. For what is kalpida? What is its swarupa? Its adhisthana is the swarupa. What is the adhisthana for the pot here? Clay pot? Clay. For anything made out of clay, clay is the adhisthana cause. The cause is the adhisthana. And we are going to extend this and say, Brahman therefore is the adhisthana. In order to build up that one, I am proceeding like this. Brahman is the adhisthana for everything. starting from Maya. Everything is Adhyastha. Morning I said that Adhisthana Adhyastha relation. For everything, Brahman is Adhisthana. Everything is superimposed on that. Now, consider the other example, the Vivarta, the rope and the snake. Now, without the rope, there cannot be the appearance of the snake. Something else is needed more, but this is basically needed. It is on the rope, the snake is superimposed. In the morning I told you. The rope remains as a rope, just as Brahman remains all the time as Brahman. You superimpose anything on that, Brahman is not contaminated. It is free from all this kind of contamination. Neither dosha will be there, nor guna will be there. Somewhere it comes in the Bhashya. I can't quote the text. I can't quote the text immediately. It is unaffected by the dosha, equally it is unaffected by the guna. Do you remember? Gunena doshena va. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That is the text I am referring to. Not even by a trace of this guna and dosha, it will be affected. Now, so rope and snake, I proceed. Rope and snake are related as cause and effect. The snake is something that is adhyastha, just as part is adhyastha on the clay. Even so, the snake is something adhyastha superimposed on the rope. Rope, therefore, is adhisthana. This is what is kalpida. Should we mistake the rope only as a snake? No. You can also mistake it as a garland. Sometimes we think that, oh, there is a garland here. I should not step on that. You try to remove it from your way. To your surprise, you find that it is not a garland, but it is a rope. But you can't superimpose anything on the rope. What is similar to that, you can superimpose. That is taken for granted. So, here also, I don't have to say, because sometimes when we say this is illusory snake, now I soften it by saying, oh, this snake is kalpida. And what is the swarupa for that? It is a rope that is a swarupa. For any object which is kalpida, it's adhisthana, it's a swarupa. Therefore, the Advaitini has got only one principle. The same principle, the rule he applies for Brahman world relation. World is kalpida. It is an acceptable word. Only if I say it is illusory, people get offended. The Advaitini says the world is illusory. I don't say illusory, it is kalpida. Just as say a part is kalpida. We always accept clay as real and part is real. We say clay is adhisthana, part is something adhyastha on that one. So we call it as a kalpida. Any effect whatsoever, whether it is through parinama or whether it is through vivarta. Now we say that we will call it as kalpida. What is its swarupa? Its adhisthana is the swarupa. Find out the adhisthana. What is the principle on which you operate? Kalpidasya, Vadhyar Filipurtadana, Shastriya. Kalpidasya adhisthanamev swarupam. The Advaitini operates, he creates his philosophy, formulates his philosophy on the minimum principles. the principle of economy as I call it. If you can explain by one principle, whereas somebody else explains by invoking 2 or 3 principles, my method of explanation is much better because the principle of economy, Laghava, is there. Laghava. In English we say principle of economy. A scientist should care for the principle of economy. By one hypothesis, he should be able to explain more phenomena. So, the entire Advaita philosophy works on the basis of this principle, accepting Brahman as the only reality. Everything else, whatever you have in this world, is Kalpita. Kalpitasya, solunga, Kalpitasya Adhishtanameva Swarupam. எங்க வாத்தியார் அப்படிதான் சொல்லி கொடுத்தாரு எனக்கு. படிச்சா அவர்கிட்ட படிக்கணும், படிக்காம கூட இருந்தலாம். That is the love a person develops for the teacher. That is a good teacher. If we have a good teacher, it is our good luck. We don't require lakhs and lakhs of rupees. But the person who teaches us the right way, you don't feel. And he will not have a sense of time, sometimes 2 hours, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Even in the dim light, it's late in the evening. It's a small house. Late in the evening, I am studying Brahma Siddhi with him. There is a child in the Thuli. ஒரு சின்ன குழந்தை, ஒரு இறந்து போயிடுத்த அப்புறம் 2 months or so. And then எங்க mommy is very busy with attending some other work. It is late in the evening, 5 o'clock, 5:30. The dim light is there. So he is just rocking the Thuli. I am also standing because he is standing, keeping the Brahma Siddhi and reading the text. He is explaining Thuli Artikindu. I only wish somebody has taken a photograph of that situation. He doesn't mind. It's a late time and Sandhya time. He says, Sandhya will wait. The lesson is, teaching the lesson is important. I am doing that work. I can't just stop saying that, oh, this is Sandhya time. Sun is about to set, therefore I will go. No, he will not do that. I am proud of him. இப்படி யாராவது சுச்சுவேஷனை பார்த்துருப்பேல, தூளி ஆட்டிக்கிட்டு வாத்தியார் நின்றுக்கிட்டு கேட்கறது, நான் கையில் புஸ்தக பிரம்ம சித்தியை வச்சுன்னு படிக்கிறேன். இட்ஸ் a very difficult test. So his formula is Kalpidasya Adhishtanameva Swarupam. I pass on. The yoga system, Sankhya is over. Now I am going to take the class at 7 o'clock. Are you ready? Okay, 7 to 8. Tomorrow morning, that will be the last class of morning. Revati madam will take. I already done the ending, already is over, because the beginning itself I give the Upasamhara. Because sometimes it drags. And somebody will ask me, have you completed? I will say, I have completed. Or I will tell him that there is an assurance now that since I have left it incomplete, I will come back again. Yoga system. As in other systems, we have the basic work, Yoga Sutra, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Then there is the Bhashya. I given all that one, the titles and all that one. And commentary by Vyasa, Bhashya. Vachaspati wrote a sub-commentary. Vijnana Bhikshu wrote Yoga Vartika. I told you usually Sutra, Bhashya, Vartika, that is the development. There are other books I have not mentioned. The yoga system is a system which is allied to the Sankhya. So they have a division of labor as in Nyaya and Vaisheshika. The yoga system accepts the metaphysics of the Sankhya. Therefore, it is a dualistic metaphysics. Purusha and Prakriti are the two principles. And the Sankhya system accepts the yoga discipline, Ashtanga Yoga. But the yoga system has got also a kind of a psychology, yoga psychology, yoga moral discipline, and then you have got the sixth, Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of the yoga system. The definition of yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. You have to control or discipline your Chitta Vritti. Vritti is the modification, functioning, activities. The activities of the Chitta have to be disciplined, not removed, disciplined, so that it will not function in an erratic way, in a disciplined way, helping you to reach the goal of Samadhi. The system therefore talks about the functioning of the Chitta. I have mentioned that the modifications of the Chitta, there are 5 kinds of modifications. One is Pramana, in the sense of a valid cognition. The other is Viparyaya. It is on page 15. Yoga Psychology, I mentioned the second bullet. The modifications Chitta, there are 5 kinds. Pramana is a valid cognition. Viparyaya is erroneous cognition. The third is Vikalpa. That is the special contribution made by the yoga system. What is Vikalpa? You say Vikalpakya Vritti. The Vritti, the Chitta Vritti here, it is called Vikalpa. It is known as Vikalpa. Not in the usual sense, but in a technical sense. Vikalpa, distinction. But when we talk about after Pramana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa, it is in a special sense. We talk about the sky flower quite frequently. Hare's horn. Now, any cognition that we have, any kind of a cognition, any cognition that we have should be such that it is obtained through a vritti. Without vritti, no cognition is possible. It can be any kind of a vritti. Ordinarily, we speak of Antakarana vritti. Sometimes we speak of Avidya vritti. And for us, we operate with these two, let us say. Antakarana vritti and Avidya vritti. In the case of erroneous perception, Avidya plays a crucial role. Avidya vritti. Our experience is mediated through Avidya vritti. So in normal situations, Antakarana vritti, when there is a problem of error and all that one, there is also vritti. It is Avidya vritti, Antakarana vritti, Avidya vritti. Ishvara also requires vritti for being omniscient. Maya vritti. In the Vichara Sagara, that is an important work. Vichara Sagara. Author? Nischala Dasa. He only edited the other person. Nischala Dasa is a great Advaita writer in recent times. Not very recently, recent times. He wrote in Hindi. According to him, any Cognition is made possible by vritti. Without vritti, you cannot have any cognition. Vritti. So there are, for the human being, for the jiva, two kinds of vritti. Antakarana vritti, avidya vritti. Even Ishvara requires vritti, maya vritti. It also undergoes change, makes Ishvara Sarvagyan and all that. Now, the problem that we are now having is, we talk about the sky flower, hare's horn. We know that there is no such entity as the sky flower. But still we speak of, I say, oh, it is a case of sky flower. I communicate to you, you also nod your head. Yes. What did you understand? You understood something. What did I communicate? When I make an expression, when I use an expression, corresponding to that expression, there should be an object normally. When I say table, corresponding to the word table I utter, there is this entity. It is this entity which I denote by the word table. Duster, I utter the word, this is the entity. Now when you say in the conversation, when you say that, don't you know it is like sky flower. I used an expression sky flower, you seem to understand, we carry on our conversation. You don't even stop me, please tell me what you mean by sky flower, you understand. The expression that I used has served the purpose by communicating something to you. You seem to understand. Is there any object corresponding to the expression? How is it I have made use of this word? There is some vritti. Through vritti I communicate. Through vritti you understand. What kind of a vritti? Is it antakarana vritti? No. Is it avidya vritti? No. The other one is reserved for Ishvara. We can't go anywhere near that side. It is maya vritti for him. Now the yoga system says this is vikalpa, a vritti called vikalpa, where we use an expression, you use a word corresponding to which there is no object at all. So this sky flower, hare's horn, Makena's gold, Ahaya Pandal, Ponnunjal, all of them come under the category of vikalpa, the vritti known as vikalpa. Vikalpa is a contribution by the yoga system. We call it as vikalpa, the vritti called vikalpa, vikalpakya vritti, vikalpakya vritti. One thing definitely we have learned is this vikalpakya vritti, vikalpa vritti, yoga system. Vikalpa. I said merely verbal cognition. Even that is not even effective. With all the story I told you, you must understand the meaning of the word vikalpakya. Then nidra, sleep. Smriti, memory. Then I made a reference to the levels of mental life, chitta bhumi. You can just, this is not a very difficult thing for you to understand. The levels of our chitta, they call it chitta bhumi. I have mentioned kshipta, mura, vikshipta, ekagra, niruddha. They are required for getting into the samadhi state. The states where we are sometimes confused, we are chaotic in our thinking and all that one, the first three they cover. Ekagra, niruddha are the states in which the practitioner is able to develop what is known as concentration, which finally develops into two kinds of samadhi, samprajnata samadhi and asamprajnata samadhi.
strong tendency towards virtuous life.
Huh?
There's a strong tendency towards virtuous life.
Yeah, that is a
Distraction.
yeah that is the probably the difficulty in the translation with Vikshipta. I don't know the usual translation. What is the translation that is given? Vikshipta. Kshipta to start with. Then Muda, we understand. Vikshipta, there is a stage in which
There is distraction of the mind.
distraction of the mind. Then the question that Swamiji asks is, will the distraction lead to what is called will lead a person to virtuous life? Now, this is the explanation that I give. Maybe it is sensible, may not be sensible. When do I plan to order the things in my house? It is thoroughly in a chaotic condition. In fact, every time my friend who is retired as a superintendent of police, my classmate, Balasubramanian, when I can get into your room, I get the impression as if you are going out to some other place on a journey, or coming just now you unloaded your things. I say it will be like that. Why do you say like that one? I say you get into, I'm not only your friend and classmate. I'm a professor, and you see I kept so many books. One book is opened, another book with a slip, and a third is a paper and all that one. And if I carry the book to that side, I keep it there and then come away sometimes. I give an example. If you go to a salon, barber salon, you find the hairs scattered everywhere. You can't complain to the barber. Periodically he cleans, but still, periodically I rearrange and rearrange. If I send out 3 books as I don't unwanted, 8 books come in. On one side I send out the books, goodbye. Another side the books comes in. We need. Now I am just mentioning, I am not sure about that. It is only when the mind is distracted, you plan to organize it. Probably you organize it and then try get into the concentration. I don't propose to go, because these are the things I least care for even in lectures. As I told you, at one time I did not even talk about the samadhi and all that. I refused to talk about samadhi here. Even now, only theoretically I am telling you. I don't know. You must be knowing from me. You are on the way. I am not on the way. I am not chosen the way. Yeah. Because I know if I don't know myself, I think it will be very bad. I know myself. So it is almost under the control of Rajas. That's why it is doing payatam. Pay order, hamare order. But still, that I have said that it has a strong tendency towards virtuous life in spite of distraction. I have got it myself. That's why I gave this example. It is only from the chaotic condition you have to think in terms of an order or a system. Otherwise, it is not a kind of a mental moral discipline. Ekagra and Niruddha, you accept that one. Then the eightfold means of yoga. The eightfold steps of yoga.
Is it similar to Nirvikalpa and Sahaja Samadhi?
Huh?
This Samadhi
Ah.
similar to Nirvikalpa Sahaja?
Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now, how do you reach that state? The discipline is there. First, yama and niyama. Yama, there are 5 constituents in Yama, Niyama another 5. 5 plus 5, 10. Both of them are the 10 commandments of the yoga system. What you should not do and how to cultivate the life. It is mainly intended for disciplining the body. Disciplining the body. And people think, this is the comment I always make. People think that straight away they can go for asana, the third step. It is disastrous. It is not asana but acrobatics. People do, I am doing asana, I can do Sirsasana and all that one. You are not doing asana because that is the preliminary for asana, yama and niyama. And I've seen people doing, you know, that sometimes the man, the rope walker, Nietzsche writes about the rope walker, tight rope walker. Rope walker, do I communicate? Tamangutadi irukana aadrana mela. Kuchi vechin nadakaram poran. Kizha irangaran, he comes down. He has one smoke. Then he comes up. And people who say that I am practicing asana and all that one, to me, most of them seems to be a case of doing acrobatics in the way in which I have described you. We don't care for the first two. And then the second group, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, they go together for the purpose of controlling the mind. The third group, dhyana, dharana, dhyana and samadhi for concentration. And then where a person is able to reach the stage of samadhi, I don't know what it is like, 2 kinds of samadhi, savikalpaka samadhi, nirvikalpaka samadhi. And the person attains, a person who is in the state of samadhi will attain the state of liberation here itself. That's all. I can't go into the details because if somebody asks me, say, is it? I can only say the theory. Yoga is not just a theory but practice.
The Jains have the same value system as Yama and Niyama of the yoga system. Is there a connection between them?
Between?
The Jains and this yoga system?
I don't know whether, see, a book on synthesis of yoga, it's a theoretical study, will come out from here, written by me. See, yoga discipline is not necessarily only the yoga system. Karma yoga, we say, it is a discipline, very marvelous discipline, which is a foundation for anything. We talk about bhakti yoga, we talk about jnana yoga. Now, there are references to the yoga practice, not necessarily the Patanjala yoga. In the Upanishads, they have it. But this is a kind of a rigorous discipline, systematic discipline, worked out in the system. They say that there are 2 systems which are unique in the world, for which there is no parallel anywhere. This is what my teacher used to say, that when I studied philosophy. 2 systems. One is yoga. Is there anything parallel to the yoga anywhere in the world? No. Is there any philosophical system comparable or parallel to Advaita? No. I talk about Bradley, I talk about Parmenides. They come very closer to that one. Very near. Almost touching. But you can't give one-to-one comparison and say, here is Advaita, here is Bradley's idealism. No. Nowhere. Advaita is unique. Even so, yoga system is unique. This kind of a discipline that we have in the yoga, Ashtanga yoga, I don't think we have it anywhere. One may say it is not part of philosophy or part of religion or theology. That is another thing. But as I told you in the beginning, theory and practice go together. And even to talk about the other kinds of yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or sometimes they speak of Raja yoga. I don't know. I don't understand. Though I have been very close to the study of Vivekananda's literature, is there Raja yoga? How is the different from Patanjali yoga? Sometimes they use the expression Hatha yoga. This is the position. And when you study yoga, remember that it is a unique system that we have contributed. Advaita is equally a unique system we have contributed. The rest I leave it to you, yoga system. Now, when we come to the Mimamsa, it is a system which is very close to Advaita in the sense, namely, that they are really partners. Mimamsa. Full name for that is Purva Mimamsa. It has got the basic philosophical text, Mimamsa Sutras. Then Bhashya written by Sabara, and you listen to Sastrigal, he said the meaning of the word Sabara. How that meaning came is not the proper name, but it is associated with a person who led a particular type of life, Sabara's Bhashya. Then there are two important teachers, Kumarila Bhatta and Prabhakara. Kumarila Bhatta was Prabhakara's teacher. Kumarila Bhatta wrote, he is called the Vartikara in the Mimamsa system, Sloka Vartika, Tantra Vartika. Prabhakara wrote a commentary, a very big commentary called Brahati. Only a part of it has been published. I think Subramanya Sastrigal, Prantikar Subramanya Sastrigal, he published part of it in Madras University. The remaining one has to come out. So many things still have not come out. Prabhakara's big commentary, Brahati, only a part of it has been edited and published by the Madras University. Like that, many books. I expect the Sanskritists to do the work. They can do, I cannot do. My basic training is philosophy. Revati should do. My friends must do. To compare the manuscripts, edit them carefully, and then bring out in the book form. If the book is made available in print, it will help many scholars. The Mimamsa system has got its epistemology, has got its metaphysics, has got its way of interpreting the Vedic text, all that is there. And in the beginning itself, I told you that Mimamsa and Vedanta are the two systems which are very close to the Veda. Now, for the purpose of analysis, the Veda may be divided into two parts. One kind of a division Sastrigal gave you. You may, if you have notes, you may look into that one. Samhita and Brahmana, and then Brahmana is subdivided into three. That is one kind of a classification. Now I am mentioning another kind of a classification. The Veda may be divided into two parts. The ritual part called the Karmakanda, I put KK, and the knowledge part called the Jnanakanda. The ritual section of the Veda, the knowledge section of the Veda, Karmakanda, Kanda means section dealing with karma, and section dealing with Jnana. And the Upanishads come in this section, in this part, the second part of the Veda. Sometimes it's called Purvakanda, the earlier part. The other one is called the Uttarakanda. Therefore, we have got Purva Mimamsa system, which is interested in the earlier part of the Veda and the Karmakanda of the Veda, that is the Mimamsa system that we are going to have. It's called full name Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa, Mimamsa. Vedanta is called Uttara Mimamsa, later Mimamsa, earlier and later. Because of the division, earlier section of the Veda, later section of the Veda. But does not mean that Mimamsa has everything to do only with karma. It has got its epistemology, metaphysics and all that one. Now this system is realistic, like the Nyaya Vaisheshika. There are many things in the world, including the jivas. So it is realistic and pluralistic. And it is a system which operates without God, creator God, no creator God. The world is eternal. There is no question of its creation and destruction and all that one. It's eternal. And we have the Vedic texts. Now the two illustrious teachers of the school, Kumarila Bhatta, it is called the Bhatta school usually, the Bhatta school. The other school, the Prabhakara school, Prabhakara school. Substantially they agree in their epistemology, but still there are differences. The Prabhakara school, the school of Kumarila Bhatta's Shishya, the Prabhakara school accepts 5 pramanas. We already seen 4 pramanas: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda. Now one more is added by Prabhakara. It is called Arthapatti. In English translation, postulation we give, postulation. Some people use the expression implication. The word implication will be all right in logic, but not in, we are discussing about this theory of knowledge. So, the standard translation of Arthapatti is postulation. Sometimes some people use the word presupposition, no, postulation. Huh? Presumption, they use the word. Presumption is a weaker word. Postulation means I postulate this for such a reason. I have to. It is something that is necessitated by the situation. We speak of postulates of induction. Postulates of induction. The principle of causality and the uniformity of nature. We have to compulsorily postulate. Otherwise, you cannot account for our life in the world. Arthapatti. The standard example we have. We can modify that. Easy to go with Devadatta. Already he has been introduced several times by Shastrigal and Revati. Devadatta. Just if you want change Devadatta into Vishnu Datta, some Datta is needed. Traditional name. Well, this Devadatta says that I will not take a fast. So he is fasting publicly. He doesn't eat. There are people going there and seeing him. 1 week fasting, but still he waits, he keeps his constant weight. Doctors come and check him. They are concerned with his health. The weight is the same. It is the 5th day of his fasting or 6th day. There is a suspicion whether he is eating stealthily. Probably he is eating in the night when nobody watches him. If that is not granted, it is very difficult to account for his fasting on the one hand and keeping his weight constant. So the problem to be explained is his fasting plus keeping his weight constant. That is to be accounted for. There is no way by means of which we can account for this known fact. The known fact calls for an explanation. This calls for an explanation. How? How is it that he is fasting during the daytime, but still he is doing daytime? I have now added now. He is fasting, total fasting, but keeping the weight constant. Weight is constant. This calls for an explanation. The only way by means of which you can account for this known fact, the given fact, is that he must be eating stealthily, not being noticed by anybody else. So, he is eating by night. Eating by night. This, unless this is postulated, we cannot account for this known fact. To postulate something, here it is a postulation of eating by night by Devadatta. Unless this is postulated, I don't say unless this is inferred, no. We don't construct any inference. We don't see him by perception. When he does it, we don't know. Somebody must help him, whatever it may be, unnoticed by others. He must be eating. So, this conclusion that we arrive at, this statement that we make, eating by night, by this Devadatta, is not a case of perception. We don't see him. We don't infer this statement because we don't construct a Vyapti and say that one, all that one. I don't have a Vyapti. All cases of fasting by day plus keeping the weight constant must be the case of eating by night. This Devadatta he is eating, fasting by day and keeping his weight. Therefore, it must be a case of eating by night. I am not constructing an argument, inference. There is no pratigya, there is no hetu, there is no udaharana or vyapti. We don't have anything of the sort. So it is not a case of inference. It is not a case of perception. I don't know it by inference. It is not a case of comparison. It is not a case of knowing something through Shabda. So all the known four pramanas already, perception, inference, comparison and Shabda, they are of no use here. Therefore, we have to bring in another pramana called arthapatti, postulation. Unless we bring in, we cannot account for this known fact. This is a contribution by Prabhakara, and the Advaitins also accept that one. Arthapatti is the fifth pramana. The numbering I told you that day. Anupalabdhi will be the last pramana, 6 pramanas we say. Have I made myself at least, because she is going to take it up again. Arthapatti. A lot of discussion is there. Why can't you call it? I've only summarized the whole thing. Not any of these known pramanas. Therefore, another pramana is needed. It's called Arthapatti. But the Naiyayika doesn't accept. I will reduce it to perception or inference. The Sankhya philosopher doesn't accept. This is the Mimamsaka contribution. And the Advaitin also accepts that one. The next pramana introduced by Kumarila Bhatta That is called Anupalabdhi. 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 Upalabdhi, cognition. Anupalabdhi, non-cognition. Non-cognition. This is even sometimes said to be a negative pramana. Negative pramana in the sense, namely, that it is a pramana through which the non-existence of a thing is known. I have already introduced to the concept of non-existence, abhava. Abhava pramana, negative pramana, sixth pramana called Anupalabdhi. It is through this pramana the non-existence of a thing is known. Non-existence is abhava. How is this pramana introduced? Now here in this ground, the Bhutala, there is no pot. If a pot is kept there, I would have seen the pot. It will be an object of perception. If it is kept here, just as I see the chairs and the other articles of furniture here, I would have perceived a pot if it is there. I don't see a pot. I am very clear about my perception. I don't see a pot. Therefore, I say that the pot is non-existent here. The pot is non-existent. The pot is absent. If it were there, had it been there, when there is no obstruction before my visual sense and the object, when there is light, all the necessary conditions are there, fulfilled. Given all the conditions for the perception of an object, I am not able to see the pot. I don't see a pot here. Therefore, a pot is absent or non-existent where? Here in this place. I am not talking about non-existence generally. Notice that I am talking about a particular entity, pot. It is absent here. It is absent here in the ground. How do I get the knowledge of the non-existence of the pot in the ground, in this place? Not through perception normally. Though the Naiyayika says, no, I will show through perception that I can get the knowledge of the non-existence of the pot. These 6 different kinds of contact. It's a very complicated one. Ordinarily, we find it difficult to understand Indriyartha Sannikarsham and all that. Different kinds of contact, it is not the ordinary way. We are not going to listen to Naiyayika here. Normally, it is not possible for us to know the absence of a pot through perception. I don't construct an inference to say that a pot is absent here. Inference means we require vyapti. We require paksha dharmada jnana. We don't go through all that process. I just say a pot is non-existent here. How do I claim? It is not a case of comparison. There is no sadrisya question here. I am not listening to a verbal statement of somebody who says, if you go to the hall, you will find that there is the non-existence of a pot. No. I straight away come here and I say that as if I come here with the expectation there will be a pot here. There must be that expectancy in me. Otherwise, why should I search for a pot here? When I go to the room and I look for a particular book, is it kept here or kept that side? Or it has fallen down? So, there is an idea in my mind which urges me to go and search for that. Is it in that location? So, It is not known through perception, inference, comparison, verbal testimony. Also, there is no scope for arthapati. I see the ground, bare ground, empty ground, but I don't see the pot here. Therefore, I make a statement. A pot is non-existent in this ground. I am reporting about the non-existence of a pot. I don't say it is missing. Where is it missing? There is a ground in which it is missing. There is a place in which it is missing. Therefore, there is a particular object which is missing, absent. A particular object. That object, let us say pot, or a particular book in the shelf, that is missing. A pot is missing on the ground, or a particular book is missing in my shelf. When I go back to Madras, my hall, I will just have a brief look at the books. Quite a few are there. Even as I see that one, if I see there is something uneasy, somebody pulled out the book, I say, don't pull out the books I have written. It's a problem for me otherwise. They pull out and then look at it and then keep it somewhere. So, I am looking for a pot in a particular place, there the pot is absent. Or a book which I look for in my shelf in a particular place, the book is not there. That background is necessary because we can't generally talk about non-existence. I am complaining about non-existence. Your complaint will not be listened to by anybody. Which is non-existent? A pot is non-existent. Where did we expect it? I expected it in the particular place, it is there. So I am talking about the non-existence of a pot in the ground or on the ground. They use technical terms. What is non-existent? The book. It is called Pratiyogi. Am I right?
Yes.
Pratiyogi. Pratiyogin. Pratiyogi, Pratiyogin. Where it is absent, here in the ground, on the ground. The ground is the aniyogin. Very difficult to translate in English. Aniyogin. Therefore, when you talk about the problem of the non-existence of any entity, that's why when I gave the example of Sartre, going to the restaurant with the expectation to see Peter, as per the original agreement, he goes there, it is full, Peter is not here. The absence of Peter looms large at the restaurant to Sartre. No, he doesn't notice the presence of anybody. He goes with expectation. I come here with the expectation there will be a pot here. In the ground, on the ground, on this particular hall, this pot is missing, absent. So, Pratiyogin, the pot which is non-existent is the Pratiyogin, or the particular book which I am searching for, that is absent, that is the Pratiyogin. In the first case, the ground, this particular ground is, this particular place is the Aniyogin. There, the shelf in my house, in the hall, that is the Aniyogin. How do you get this knowledge? You get this knowledge not by the usual pramanas like pratyaksha. You get knowledge through a special pramana called anupalabdhi. It is something which is very necessary or appropriate to say that it is not only that way. That is that appropriateness. That's why you have a mental set. You don't go and search for anything. No. You have an expectation, a particular part. When you search in a particular place where you wanted to see, it is absent. So both are contextually determined. The object whose non-existence you are reporting and the place where it is non-existent also being reported. How do you know that? How do you know the non-existence? Even a negative entity can be perceived. Non-existence is a negative entity, not in the way in which Nayayika says, but in some other way. This is Anupalabdhi Pramana. How does it help us? If you are doing logic, it may help us. I don't think that anybody, when I find that a certain book is missing, all I can say is, I will ask Jayanti, anybody come here and then disturb the book, Jayanti, do you know? Yes sir, somebody, your friend came here and he was searching for a book, he was trying to look at this book and all that one. When he went there, did you tell him? Are you sure that he did not take away the book? Because I consider it most valuable. Somebody comes and picks the book means when I want the book for reference, it's not available. I am prepared to lose 1,000 rupees, not certainly a particular book. Most valuable. One more. I make a detour from time to time. Look at sometimes sometimes I may use a strong word, but not necessary. I don't guide. A close relative of mine, an academic, a professor in the university, retired professor in the university. Let me tell the background. Every time I go to Singapore, I buy 2 or 3 books, very essential books, either in hermeneutics or in with regard to Heidegger or critical theory. Each book cost about $80 or $75, some paperback. You find that there will be books on existentialism, books on phenomenology, books on hermeneutics, like that, a row. They are very, very much needed so that I can update my knowledge for comparison and all that. This man came. Yeah, you have so many books and all that one. So why don't you, even when you are, now itself you can donate it to some library. I did not like that way. I said that, no. I require them. That's why every time I buy 3 or 4 books. The books in that hall, they may be worth about 10 lakhs. I need them. That man is a professor of English. All that he will read will be the old, every time they prepare notes, Richard II, they will prepare your notes. Original A.C. Bradley. They prescribe the book for the study, Shakespeare, Richard II, or Othello, or somebody, Paradise Lost, Canto 1 or Canto 2. Professor of English, language. Publish pandrathu. To anybody it is applicable. If I were to be a professor of English, the same thing will be applicable. They prepare notes every time, print notes, guide. They don't write anything original. They don't even interpret Shakespeare. Notes. What is Board of Studies prescribes is an exercise for the Board of Studies. So and so. Balasubramanian, why don't you prepare? This time we will prescribe Midsummer Night's Dream. Recently, it's nearly 15 years. All prepare, we will prescribe, we will prepare the notes. And easily about 10,000 copies will be sold. They won't take the complete works of Shakespeare. It is stupid on the part of a person to ask me, what will you do? Why don't you dispose it off? There was a Greek philosopher, Democritus. He said, when somebody asked him, "No, are you not worried about the problem of death?" No, he said. Why? When I live, there is no death. When I am dead, there is no life. So one is present, the other is absent. So why should I worry? That means the collection of books by an academic who is interested in the study, it is very essential. Otherwise, he is a liability on the academic system. A liability on the academic system. So, I ask this question because how does this pramana help us? Anubhavati. Not in our day-to-day life immediately. I don't say that it is missing because I know that they are absent, the book is absent, or the part is absent through Anupalabdhi. But better that sometimes when somebody asks, my granddaughter will ask the question, how do you know their tata? She will put me in a very embarrassing situation. How do you know their tata? Tell me. I have to say something to her to convince her, the way in which it could be convinced. So normally, therefore, unless it is a special occasion, Shankara will make use of only 3 pramanas, Pratyaksha, Anuvana and Shabda. It is only by, in a forced way, we have to say that Arthapatti. There are 2 kinds of Arthapatti, Drishta Arthapatti and Shruta Arthapatti. There are cases we can give. But otherwise, with 3 pramanas we carry on. Most of the Darshanikas, they carry on. Perception, inference and Shabda. The remaining part, Mimamsaka, there is theories of error. 78, it's a very convenient time. Good Muhurtam. We will meet 78, then immediately we will go for our, you have a long break, okay? Tomorrow we will conclude, whatever is left over.